Hey guys, I guess we're live. Hey everyone, bonjour. Hope everyone is well. My name is Marty, also known as Marty B, also known as Big Bad Marty, and my mother calls me Martin. So welcome this afternoon, and hopefully everybody's doing well through this kind of weird. Don't you think it's a weird time? I think it's a little bit weird myself. It's been weird, and it was certainly weird at the start. First few days, first couple weeks, took time to get used to, especially as a person like me who suffers from anxiety and chronic depression. Chronic depression, as in I've been diagnosed as being depressive. So basically, it's not chronic as in like on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, but I get about probably 3 or 4, kind of spells a year, and it can last from from a week to a month or so or whatever. And it's not like, for me, it's never been like dark, deep depression. It's more like loneliness, sadness, questioning, and then I regress. And regressing just makes you even further from turning it around. So I finally eventually turned it around, but for a little period there, I end up probably in a dark place. But more and more that life is advancing and that I'm getting older. I'm not that old. I'm 42. But I think I'm realizing a lot more along the way that that if I'm conscious of my, situation and the possibilities that what can happen and result from me letting myself go into a darker, state or a depression, I find that it's helping me being a lot more conscious. And one huge thing has been to talk about it. But anyways, I didn't get into who I am. So anybody that's going to watch this is going to say, well, who's this guy, talking about anxiety and depression. But at the end of the day, I'm just another guy like everybody, everybody out there, you, me, everybody. My name's Martin. I'm 42. I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick. I've played music basically since I can remember. I've been a musician, been in bands. Some of you might remember some of the bands or groups that I'm in now or have been in the past. A lot of people know me as Big Bad Marty, again, from the band Big Bad Marty Band 8 years ago, or 5 years ago I left. I was in the band for 8 years, played, 130, 140 shows a year with that band. We were pretty popular, pretty busy, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a cool experience and a lot of cool tests for my anxiety and my struggles with mental health. Now, I'm also a concert promoter, which I, for the last 16 years, have bought shows from different agencies, from artists. So I've worked with major artists, country artists from the US. I've also worked with Francophone artists from Europe, from Quebec, and just done a ton of shows and touring and everything. I've had a lot of cool experiences, a lot of cool stuff that's happened to me in my life and that I've created as well. And so, it's been quite a cool journey so far on both the awesome and the good and the positive and the success and everything. And also on the other side, which is the darker side, which has always been there for me as well, which was like depression, anxiety, worry. Worry comes with obviously anxiety, financial troubles. Like, as much as I've had success, I've also, had some hardships. So, I think a lot of it for a long time had to do with my mental health and me not realizing that balance, was so important, very, very important. And for a long time. You know, I dabbled into meditation, Reiki, stuff like that to help me. And then I got disconnected from all that for a few years. And that's where I hit, you know, for me, the hardest part. About 5 years ago, I ended up in a depression, one of those, you know, weekly or monthly, kind of once in a while that I was talking about earlier, depressions. And, but, you know, ended up being a lot longer, ended up lasting almost 3 years. So 2.5 years of depression and suicidal thoughts, and not knowing how the hell I was going to turn my life around. And I was going to bounce back from this one, because I'd completely lost the grip, completely lost control, completely lost, you know, any kind of feeling of how it was to be happy and to bounce back. So that was quite the challenge, and it lasted again 2.5, 3 years ago. And it's only been like 1.5 to 2 years that I've kind of been bouncing back, you know, and it takes a while to bounce back. It's not like it's so easier to get in deep than it is to grind yourself back out, I find anyways. I don't know about you guys, but chin chin to a Saturday, to a rainy, shitty Saturday. How about that? Saturdays are usually my routine. I usually wake up and go to the farmer's market, and I wake up randomly on Saturdays, so I never set a time or figure it out. I just go as the biological clock takes me. And usually I go to the farmer's market and I run a few errands, and then I stop and visit my parents, sit there, hang out, have coffee. And then I get back home and hang out, you know, with the family and the kids, and do a bit of work around the house, get things ready for the evening. And then Saturday nights often is usually hockey night, right? So we sit down and we hang out and we watch hockey, my son and I, and go Habs go. And that's usually, you know, the run of a Saturday night. And if we have a show, usually then I'm forced to miss hockey, which my Habs is like a religion. So Saturday nights when we have shows, well, I miss the game. But then I get another side, which is awesome, which is, you know, interacting with the crowd and being on a stage and playing music and all that. So, but to get back now, I'm totally bouncing from one end to the other. But to get back to my story, at 4 weeks old, my mother thought I had a cold, like a flu, and I wasn't sounding good. I didn't seem that I was feeling good. So she decided to take me to the doctor. And when she got to the doctor said, no, it's not a cold. You know, we got to rush him to IWK. I was in heart failure. They took me to the IWK. They baptized. They confirmed me. They read me my last rites. Like, really, honestly, they thought they were losing me. And anyways, lo and behold, I survived and I pulled through. To then have to go through, you know, many surgeries and many hospital stays and visits and stuff. Ended up having 5 open heart surgeries. So yeah, well, I'm not gonna like strip here, but if you look, you can see one of my scars, which is there. I call them my battle scars. I love them. Today I love them, and I understand what they represent. They represent me and my entirety, and all the lessons that I've learned through, you know, being in hospitals and with strangers and being in the care of others and trusting and all that. So, but yeah, 4 weeks old, heart failure. They saved me. They kept me alive. 7 months old, first open heart surgery. And then 2.5 years old, and then 10, 12, 21 years old. All that to fix a coarctation of the aorta, which was a birth defect of my aorta, which is the main artery of the heart. And my aorta, the way that an aorta is usually built from the heart, you know, it's like a pipe that runs around your heart area, and it's the main artery that transfers the blood to all the blood vessels and to all the rest of the body. And well, my aorta was like an hourglass, so at one spot it did this. So it would run, and then it came and it did that. So my heart was pumping, and it would get to the artery that was blocked, the main artery, which is the aorta, and it would pump. And when it got to that, the blood flow didn't have anywhere to go. So what did it do? It kicked back to the heart, and it made the heart work harder, eventually going into heart failure, and eventually, ultimately would die, if it wasn't treated. And we were just talking about that, my mother and I, the other day, because we have a bubble family now here in New Brunswick, which is awesome. And so we chose to hang out with my parents. That's where we're at in life. We hang out with our parents. And but anyways, we were hanging out, and my mom said the other day, because we were, every once in a while, we'll recollect those moments, or we'll relive those moments, of course, different moments in life in general. And we were living this specific moment of, where was I going with this? This specific moment that we were living was the heart at 4 weeks old, and thinking that they were going to lose me. And my mom said the other day, she said, there's a kid that was from Newfoundland that was at IWK, of course, in Halifax. And my mom said that they were in the room next to my room. And I was only 7 weeks or 4 weeks old. So like, it wasn't, I don't recollect this. I don't remember this, but she was telling me that the other baby next to my room had passed away in the middle that I was having my complications, and they were trying to keep me alive. And that kid had exactly the same problem, a coarctation of the aorta. So my mom wasn't very hopeful at that moment, that's for sure. But anyway, I pulled through. I always say that it's because, like, I'm such a curious person. Like, I'm curious about life. I'm curious about discovering, and I'm curious about learning. And so I'm so curious, and I have a will to live, of course. And really, but really it's my curiosity, I think, that saved me. My mom says I'm a fighter. I'm like, I'm more of a curious person. I needed to know what this place, Earth, and this whole, concept was going to be like. So I ended up fighting to survive, so I could see. That was my curiosity. But nonetheless, I made it. And my first surgery was at 7.5 months old. Yes, that's what it was, 7.5 months old. I don't remember that one. I vaguely, and I do still have memories of the one that I had at 2.5 years old. That's the most recent one that I can remember. I remember because I remember distinctively having to let go of my mom's hand while going into the operating room. And I was being transported by, at that time, I was a complete francophone, had not really, talked a lick of English yet, because I'm born and raised francophone, French, bilingual, of course, was pretty much fluently bilingual by the age of 5 or 6. However, at that age, obviously, a child doesn't understand what's going on, first of all. And I didn't understand the language because we didn't speak English at home yet. Wasn't watching a whole lot of TV, wasn't talking a whole lot with the neighbors yet. I'm 2.5 years old, so I'm still full development. And basically all these English people with masks on, and some of them with different colors. And now remember, this is 1980. So it's a long time ago. So, seeing people of color back then wasn't common for any child or for any person that's, just a 70s baby in Moncton. It wasn't common. And so, different color people, different genres, different language, and they all had masks on, and they were taking me away from what I had the one thing that I had safe there was my mother, and they were taking me away from her because I needed to get in the OR for a heart surgery. And of course, at 2.5 years old, now that I'm a father, I understand that. A kid doesn't understand what's going on. A kid doesn't understand that. So it does leave a mark, I think. And, nobody's to blame for that. It's just, it leaves a mark. And then every step of the way along the way, well, there's more marks that are added to that anxiety and to that stress, I guess, that comes with surviving and trying to fight through a life challenge like that. So yeah, that was pretty much for me, I think, the root of the beginning of my anxiety issues. And I struggled with anxiety the rest of my life. A lot of fear, a lot of what ifs. And hell, I'm a little anxious right now just talking to you guys. I mean, it's not, I'm not used to being on Zoom yet or on social media this much yet. I've been doing a lot more lately because of the situation, but I'm not used to it and not fully comfortable. And sometimes you just feel like you're being weird because you're like alone talking to yourself in this situation. But if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. So I'll be glad to answer anything. I'm pretty candid. I'm pretty open. And it'll be my pleasure. So let's just move up a few years and literally 3 heart surgeries later. At around the age of 13 years old is another big moment in my life because I was honestly bound to be a pretty competitive hockey player. And it was a huge passion of mine, still is today. And I still coach to this day. I coach my son. My son's 15 and been involved in hockey for 8 years here in Dieppe, the minor hockey and programs and coaching and all that. But I was grooming myself to becoming a pretty competitive hockey player and a pretty high, high intensity hockey player. And I thought, I had ideas and dreams. Of course, the NHL was a dream, but ultimately I always thought, I think hockey can take me places, and I think hockey can, my skills and my hockey smarts can take me places on the ice and this and that. And I was really driven to becoming, at least continuing this hockey journey into a competitive world like provincial hockey and then into maybe high school or university. Just my plans at 11, 12, 13 years old, it was all hockey. And at 13, the doctors actually, like in September of that year when I was 13, went to a annual rendezvous with my cardiologists from Halifax. We had clinics, and they actually told me and announced me, which my mother already knew, come to find out, but they announced to me that I had to stop playing hockey this year. Like there wasn't going to be, in October for me, I wasn't going to be playing hockey at 13 years old. And so, of course, that was the hardest pill to swallow. And the reason was because I was heading into bantam and it was going to be competitive and there was going to be some checking. And back then there was actually checking in house league as well. So even if I played house league, right up till Pee Wee, there wasn't. And then when bantam started, there was, or slap shots or whatever. And it was dangerous because I had all these cuts and they had, ripped my cage open, my rib cage open. And they had done a lot of damage into what, if I got hit, it was dangerous to crack some ribs, to break some ribs, to affect the work that had been done. It was also dangerous because of the blood pressure, because there's a lot of stop and go in hockey. And so the blood pressure rises quickly and it puts a lot of pressure on that. It would have put a lot of pressure on that aorta that they had fixed. So there was no question that I was going to have to give up hockey. And, you know, I had been playing since I was 5 years old, literally like 8 hours a day, inside, outside, ball hockey, ice hockey, just year round, all the time. It was my life, right? My cousin was played in the NHL. To me, it was like, to me, I knew where I was heading, right? And I had to turn that around pretty quickly. Now, when I found out that news, obviously I cried for like a week, and I was very sad, and then tried to find ways around it. And finally, the hockey organization of Moncton accommodated me, and they let me play a third year of Pee Wee that year. So I was able to play one last year of hockey at 13, and we won. It's so awesome when you think about it. We won the year championship. So I was forced to play house league, couldn't play provincial because of slap shots again and the intensity. So I played house league, and we actually won that year. We won the championship, and I still have the videotape of that. That's the very last time that I played, you know, competitive or whatever, hockey, organized hockey. And so anyways, at 13 and a half or 14, I had to stop playing, and it was really probably my first depression, honestly, because I tried to hide it for a couple of weeks from my family. This is just my nature. I don't like it, but I just tend to hide when I have issues or problems or depression and it's been kind of a source of all my freaking problems along the way, is just not talking about it. Finally, in the last 2 years, I realized that talking about it makes a big freaking difference and pretty much changes the whole game around for anyone. The minute that you can open up and talk about stuff and talk about your feelings and what's literally actually in reality going on, then I find that it can definitely help you and literally turn things around. So, but yeah, 13, 14, that's my first depression. I cried for, I think, a week. I swear to God, I must have cried for a week. I was so depressed. I actually remember, just remember how, how big of a pill it was to swallow, having to just give up your dream and not know what the hell you're going to do with all your time and all the efforts that you put in. There's nothing to pay off. There's nothing to continue. And your friends that you've been playing hockey with and that you've been just grinding your ass with for the last few years of playing hockey and getting ready to get into the teen years and play some intense hockey, they were all moving on, and they didn't understand. And so they weren't really compassionate about it all that much, because nobody really understood. And I don't blame anybody for that. They didn't get it. We didn't talk. I didn't even talk about that stuff because I just hid it, because once again, that was one of my tendencies, was to hide stuff. Right. So basically it was like living it alone, not talking to anybody. Didn't want to really talk to my parents about it, because I didn't want them to think that I was, struggling or negative, because for some reason I thought struggling was wrong and you had to be strong and you had to show. And I think that comes from having to go through all those open heart surgeries, and you got to be a fighter, got to be strong, got to be, get through it. So basically all the elements that lead to struggling and ending up in a depression at 13 and not understanding why, and followed up with what was just before the age of 13. At 12, I had a major open heart surgery where they had to go in again and just basically a big cut and go in, and so there's a lot of missed school and a lot of time alone, a lot of time, thinking, a lot of drives on Roby Street in Halifax, and a lot of lonely drives. If ever you've been on Roby Street, it's probably one of the longest freaking streets in Canada. And when you finally roll in off the bridge, it takes forever to get to IWK. Well, feels like forever, right? But it's a long road to think. I still get the feeling when I drive on Roby Street in Halifax. I get that lonely feeling that I've identified to so many times on Roby Street in Halifax. So regardless of how many times I'm going to go on that road, I think I'm always going to feel it. But anyway, long story short, there's no long story short here. It's been freaking long, but hopefully I'm not Hopefully I'm not too annoying or boring. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate. It's already 1:25. I think we're supposed to go for about a half an hour. I've only made it to 13 years old, but that's okay. I'll give you like the gist of it in the next couple minutes. But after the age of 13 to, right up to today, I've suffered with anxiety, depression, and it's been a struggle, and there's been some challenging times through that. I think somebody no rush, take your time. Thank you. Sherry, did you open your mic?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
I'm just curious, like, what kind of things do you do today to manage anxiety?
Good question. So that's the thing, right? Between the age of 13 and 42, that's where you live your life and you understand, and you don't understand, and you try to figure it out. Well, these days, in the last couple of years, one thing that I've really learned was that taking care of yourself and being true to yourself and being in tune is important. Now, on the odd occasion, I do disconnect from all that, but how I do it these days is by first and foremost talking about my issues. So when I do have issues, I find somebody to talk to. It's not always my wife, and I'll be honest with you, my wife and I don't have the best and the toppest relationship. It's been an up and down struggle. So she's not always my go-to. Sometimes she is, sometimes she's not. It all depends on how things go. But I find somebody to talk to. And sometimes it's a messenger conversation, sometimes it's a phone conversation, sometimes video or in person. But I make sure to express what I'm going through and to kind of process it. Other things that I'm doing for my anxiety and my depression to avoid all that and try to treat that, to make sure that I stay on the positive side, is I started, I quit smoking cigarettes. And this is just very recent. I quit smoking 18 days ago. And since this pandemic, it kind of got me thinking. And I really thought, okay, the last 2 years I've been getting a lot better mental health wise, but my health is not following. Like the way I'm feeling overall physically is not really following suit with my mental health, because I'm doing a lot of steps forward by, openly talking about my mental health and consulting and treating it. Also, I take medication. I've been taking medication though since the age of 15, so it's not recent. But anyway, recently in this whole pandemic time, I decided to turn a new leaf and to really get into a new challenge in my life, is to kind of match my health with my mental health and take both and kind of bring them to another level. So I quit smoking cigarettes 19 days today. Thank you. And I gave myself 2 weeks. And at 2 weeks, I said, I'm going to start a new challenge. So at 14 days, which is now 5 days ago, I started a new challenge. Guess what I'm doing? Every day, I'm dancing an hour a day.
Wow.
At home. I crank the freaking tunes. I'm not a dancer and I suck. But I crank the tunes and I dance for an hour, and I bought a few things like this, which is, I don't know if you guys can see, and I'm really going to town with this. Like, really, I want to change my life like to the max and get back to health. So this is a watch, obviously like a Fitbit. I track all my steps. And when I do a 1 hour workout, it's usually, if I really go powerhouse, I can do about 7,500 to 8,000 steps in 1 hour.
Wow.
So it's cool because not only am I losing weight, I'm challenging myself. I have something to focus on. And obviously I'm not losing weight yet there. I'm 5 days in, but you know what? I'm committed. And when I commit, I commit. And this is the second time since I'm 13 years old that I'm committing to something aggressively in the form of conditioning, getting back in shape. Because I think at 13, when I was, disallowed from playing hockey and all that shit, whatever, I kind of brought music into my life again, which my mother's from a musical family. So I grew up in music, but up until the age of 13, I had learned how to play guitar and drums, but nothing serious. But at 13, I really started picking up guitar because I was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to be able to play hockey. So I'm going to have to develop obviously new passions. And so I started working towards music, but music obviously can turn you into not turn you into, but turn you towards more of a, how would I say this, relaxed state and environment. So drugs, alcohol, late nights, laziness, like not working out. And don't get me wrong, today, this day and age, a lot of musician artists keep in great shape, and that's a great example. But I'm talking about in the 90s, and it wasn't really like out there, like, oh yeah, being in shape and all this. So I turned more towards music, and like food was an element for me of like coping with my emotions. So intake of food, no more hockey, no more exercise as much, right? Everything kind of died down on that end within a year or two. So gaining weight, getting out of shape. And so that kind of set up my life in general for the next 20, 30 years. And it's always been a struggle since then because I wasn't keeping active enough and in shape enough. So this is the second time since I'm 13 that I actually pick up the pieces and say, okay, enough is enough. And the first time was about 10 years ago. I hired a personal trainer. I lost 65 pounds. I was in the best shape that I've ever been. I was running 7K, no problem, anytime, like probably 2-3 times a week, not probably 100%, and training every day. So that was and it lasted a good 5-6 years until I boom hit my depression at the end of the Big Bad Marty Band days. So basically this is the second time that I'm doing this, and I'm fully committed to getting in shape, to getting back to a level. I know I'm just rambling on. Sorry, Sherry.
That's okay. I really appreciate you sharing your story, and good for you for taking charge of your health.
Thank you. And if anybody on here happens to be as crazy as me and being on TikTok, that's the only place I'm documenting my weight loss journey and my mental health journey. I don't want to go on Facebook and do that and do it on Instagram. I don't want to run 3-4 platforms to do it. I found TikTok during this pandemic. It's kind of a cool app. It's funny. You can do videos from, 15 seconds to a minute. So it's short, sweet, and easy. And so that's where I document all my journey. So anybody that's interested, you guys can go follow me on TikTok. Find me Marty, I think it's Marty Roots, or Let's Be Friends, LETSB FRIENDZ. Let's Be Friends. I have like 2 names, but same account. You can have like your main name and your sidekick name. So yeah, that's me. And I'm documenting all that, and I'm totally going to town with this, and I am dancing my way right now. I started at 286 pounds. And so this is only 5 days ago. It's a fresh beginning for the dancing, but I'm dancing an hour a day, 7 days a week, and until I hit 220 pounds. And then we'll figure it out from there, because 220 is not my goal weight for as far as being in top shape. But right now it's my, if you can allow me to swear, it's my goddamn goal weight right now, if you know what I mean. So it's 60, what is it? 50 some pounds to lose. And I'm going to do it. Quit smoking. I get back in shape. I'll feel like $1 million. It's, I'm excited.
You just sounded like Wolfman Jack there.
Pardon?
You just sounded like Wolfman Jack there. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I'm a Frenchman, so I don't know who Wolfman Jack is.
You'll have to Google him.
Okay, I will. Can you give me like a?
It was back in the 60s and 70s, so he was just a character on TV, and he had that deep voice, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Shalyn. She said, way to go. Keep it up. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing your story. Congrats. Stay strong. Thank you, Lori. It's there's no secret recipe. We all know that. and there's no secret sauce to getting back in mental shape or in physical shape. I think they both go together, but you got to start with one or start somewhere. Often I think that's the case. And it's little small steps. Don't be afraid to take that first step. I was afraid for the longest time, and it really cost me probably a year or two of feeling happy and feeling good again. So it's important to really just take, if it's a small freaking step, like it's a small victory, it doesn't matter. Another thing I just want to add to Sherry's question is writing. I write a lot. So talking about it is one thing, but to me, writing is like talking, obviously. So when you put it on paper, it's like you're mirroring your emotions or your thoughts. So you just write. Obviously, I'm a musician, so I love writing anyways. I love writing lyrics and writing songs. So sometimes they turn into songs. Sometimes it's just something that'll stay in my phone forever. But you know what? One day, I always say, one day I'm going to pass from this place and go somewhere else. And my kids or whoever's going to end up with my phone is going to run into all these things that I either wrote or filmed or documented audio wise. And every once in a while, wink, wink, I leave these little special messages for my kids. So I think it's important to do stuff like that also for your own, like, it all depends, I guess, on everybody's personality. But that for me is something that I know, like, it's a keepsake that it's better than leaving money to my kids, is they're going to find all these little treasures along the way of videos and audio and writing. And sometimes I don't often share my deep thought moments for my kids, but I did share one of my writings with my mom the other day, and she was crying. She couldn't. Both my parents were crying because I'm pretty candid with my kids on all these little messages that I leave. And I don't know. It's just something that I like doing, and I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon. But I think it's important to leave those values and those just those things to your kids, so that they'll always remember the ground where they come from. But anyways, 137, I personally could chat forever, and I could grab my guitar right now and sing you guys songs. And it's a rainy Saturday, so I could hang out for like 3 hours probably, and then get you guys all to turn your mics on and just turn it into a convo. But that's not the concept. So I think I'm going to kind of wrap it up here, and just if anybody has anything to add or say, or any questions, just feel free, and then I'll turn it over after that to back to the CMHA and to wrap it up. I think I could sing you. Hang on just one sec. Can't leave you guys without at least singing like a little bit of a song. It might not sound perfect because Zoom, I know from experience that Zoom is not. Hey, Shalyn Leblanc, is that my cousin Shalyn? Just curious. If anybody wants to follow me, I mean, I know there's only a few of us here right now, but also, yes, one song. Okay, hi, cuz.
Hello.
Hi, Shalyn.
Great job. I enjoy listening to all your podcasts.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I hope everything's well over in Otterstown.
Yes, it is. All right. I'm listening to you.
All right. So yeah, I'll sing you a little bit of a song that I do on the show. And the show is called Three Men's Journey in English, and in French for those who don't know, well, it's called Les Trois Mâles. And the actual show is called Le Mal de Trois Mâles, which is basically essentially the pain that we have gone through, or the struggles, the journeys that we have gone through with mental health. It basically is three guys, me, Frank Williams, and Guy, just sharing our mental health journeys. And basically reaching out to people and just normalizing the conversation about mental health, because it's okay to have anxiety. It's okay, you know, well, it's not okay in the sense like it's not fun, but it's okay to feel all that. And then from there, by us and you and sharing and everybody kind of getting into that energy of sharing and openly conversating about this, it helps normalize the situation. It helps give everyone tips and tricks. I mean, we don't have all the tips and tricks, but we do have some, and we share them, and then we get other people share, and the next thing you know, like, we're creating a movement of people that just support each other. It's just like, it's what it is. And music is international, music is universal. So, you know, music speaks. Lori, I never thought about my early surgery at age 2 contributing to my mental health issues. Definitely can relate. My brain tumor surgeries as an adult contributed to it. 100%. Guaranteed, because it creates a lot of what if, it creates a lot of worry, questioning. You have to put your trust of your life in somebody else's hands. Now, to me, like, all the doctors and all the nurses in the world are heroes, and they are. And truly, thank you so much to all the people that are, you know, pushing through this pandemic. And my wife is one of them, and God love her. She works every day, and she works her ass off, and she works at Moncton Hospital. But long story short on this one is that no matter what, to put your life in the hands of other people, it's a difficult thing to do when you have other people in your life that you love so much that you don't want to leave. So all that can be traumatic. Long story short. Anyway, like I say, man, like, if I get going, I could go for hours. Shalene, you know that I'm a chatter, and this is what I do in the show. And I'm not going to do all of it. I'll just do a little bit of it, because I don't know how the audio will work out, and also I don't have all the words in front of me. You guys know it. Sing it with me. Sherry Cameron. I agree. I've had anxiety, and sometimes I get angry about that. P.S. I also am very curious too. One of my favorite things about me. Yeah, I love being curious. If I hear an ambulance, I'm chasing. Guaranteed. I was so sad when the scanner was debunked in Moncton, because I couldn't follow the scanner anymore. And I'm not one of those who will report it on Facebook and run around like getting in the way. No. But do I ever love chasing scanners and being curious. Runs in my blood too. Imagine all the people. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living for today. And you may say I'm a dreamer, oh, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. thanks so much for joining me today, guys. And follow me on Facebook. My name's Marty Bork on Facebook. Go send me a friend request, or you can also follow me on my band page, which is called Les Roots on Facebook. LESROOTS. And I'm also a part of the show Le Mal Le Trois Mal, which is Les Trois Mal, the French version, or the English version, which is Three Men's Journey. So I look forward to actually joining more of these podcasts and listening to other people share, because often, you know, I find that when I listen to other people share their stories, sometimes a lot of those things resonate with me too. And it's a community effort. It's a community thing. We can all help each other. So take care, much love, and have a great Saturday, everyone. 1:46 p.m. Enjoy your rainy Saturday. Take care.